Starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for finding time to attend today's webinar. I'm Shashikant Pushpakar. I'm heading marketing at Minfi Technologies, your host for today's session. We warmly welcome you all to this webinar, which Minfi in collaboration with AWS is conducting to help public serving enterprises explore a safe, scalable and agile IT solution. Let me set the context for this session. The current pandemic has set in new digital revolution. Governments across the world are adapting to dynamic IT solutions which mitigates threats, increases opportunities, and reduces cost. To accelerate the digital transformation journey in public sector, today we'll be looking at how adopting cloud can help in cost optimization, cloud for compliance and mitigating uncertainties, and disaster recovery on cloud. The in-depth sessions to follow from our speakers. A little housekeeping before we start. There is a question and answer session towards the end of the webinar. You can keep posting your questions in the chat window on the webinar screen. We are also running a special program for the audience in this webinar. That's Knowledge First Initiative. It's a dedicated workshop for your organization. The registration link along with the deck is given in a handout on the screen. So great. Let me introduce you all to our eminent speakers. We are honored to have Mr. Vikram Manchanda, India Country Leader for Government Digital Transformation at AWS. We have with us Mr. Ravi Shankar, CTO at Minfi Technologies, and our guest of honor, Mr. Robert Sharma, Joint Director at Department of Information Technology, Manipur. So without further ado, let's have our first speaker, Mr. Vikram Manchanda. He has an overall experience of over 2 decades. He had end-to-end responsibility for building and growing the government, education, and healthcare segments for AWS in India. Over to you, Mr. Manchanda.
Good afternoon. A very warm welcome to all the participants in today's webinar. This webinar is very timely. The cloud adoption journey in public sector. We have really fast forwarded to the future. What we were expecting to happen in the next couple of years, we have already witnessed that in last few months. Let me first start by thanking and expressing our deep appreciation for all the public sector officials who are in the front line and performing their roles. Healthcare workers who are putting their lives to risk to save our lives. Educators who are continuing to educate and teach our children in spite of all the challenges. And government employees who are working overtime to provide essential citizen services so that we can continue to operate. This all has been possible because of embracement of digital technologies. And we are really glad as AWS that we have partnered with public sector institutions in enabling their missions. Let me first talk about some of our global efforts in healthcare response for COVID-19. All of us are aware in last few months, the entire medical community and healthcare researchers have done significant research and published many papers. And researchers actually want to collaborate among themselves, want to find out what others have done so that they can build their own hypothesis. Tens of thousands of these papers have been published now, and now it's very difficult to find what researchers are actually looking for because most of the medical researchers would not have technical background. That's why we have developed CORD19, a search query engine, where in using the natural language of questioning, researchers can actually ask basic questions. They could ask something like, what are typical symptoms of COVID in diabetics, actually? We also are aware that COVID positive patients can present differently. Some are asymptomatic, some are present with mild cases, and some are very severe cases. This key factor is basically on genetic profiling of individuals. And that's why Dante Labs is using AWS to do analysis and create personalized prevention plans and therapy plans based on the genetic profile of individuals. In addition, we know about all the efforts being made globally by several countries and organizations and research institutions on creating vaccines and developing vaccines. But at the same time, SARS-CoV-2, as we know, can mutate. And so Hyrex Biosciences is using AWS to automate genetic sequencing of SARS-CoV-2 so that they can contribute to all the vaccine efforts being done. But I'm really glad the way Indian government agencies have actually responded in a very quick way and an agile way to respond to this challenge. They have embraced and adopted remote first way of responding to this crisis. As we just discussed, that a lot of patients do not need hospitalization and healthcare infrastructure is really scarce. And so number of patients and positive patients can actually be monitored remotely. And that's why we have a startup, health tech startup called Dozy, who's partnered with government hospitals to monitor key parameters of these patients, whether it's respiration, whether it's oxygen saturation, or blood pressure. For number of citizens who are in remote locations, who are quarantined, who are in containment zones, they are not able to get food supplies, especially from their ration shops who need subsidized food supplies. And because these ration shops are not stocked at this currently because of the supply chain impact. That's why with an agri-tech startup, we have helped develop a mobile app where citizens can actually source there and find out where these food supplies are available from a different ration shop. Another key department of police is actually impacted and stressed in these times when they continue to do situation monitoring, they have to do surveillance, and they also have to put their lives at risk. And so these police departments in few states have actually leveraged drone startups to do drone surveillance. And these drone startups are supported by AWS. These are few examples which were done by a few departments from the public sector agencies. But even at a complete state level, COVID war rooms have been set up now. COVID data dashboards have been deployed. Number of government agencies and healthcare agencies are doing testing at district and sub-district level. They're finding positive cases, profiling the patients, and giving the details of the locality of these patients. So there is tons of structured and unstructured data which is available from these authorities. This data is then put into AWS data lake, and then machine learning algorithms are actually used to predict number of positive cases which are likely, which would require hospitalization, how many ICU beds would be required, how many patients might require ventilators, and then that is matched back by the healthcare infrastructure available at a district or a sub-district level. And this could be public healthcare infrastructure, or this could be private hospitals, but a state at an aggregate level is able to optimize the entire healthcare infrastructure using AWS Cloud and its capabilities. So these were some of the examples of how organizations and agencies have actually responded back in these times of crisis. But what we have learned is the organizations which had actually adopted cloud in advance turned out to be more resilient, and they returned back to normal much sooner. And they basically deployed 5 key levers by which they actually became resilient. One, they migrated their workloads in advance. They adopted modern applications. They deployed machine learning to do analytics. They had a superior security posture. And lastly, they developed competencies of their own entire organization. Let me talk about each of these levers a little bit in detail. Some of you may already still be on-premise and managing your data centers. And last few months, you may have realized that how hard it would have been for you to procure hardware infrastructure and servers. The entire supply chain was impacted. Even for installing servers, you may be resource constrained on manpower. even managing data center for cooling, networking, air conditioning, this was a big challenge for a lot of government agencies. So if you were already on AWS Cloud, you could have actually spun up your instance in minutes and could have gone live. That way, you could have freed up your resources to do more application work and responded back to the crisis and showed how you could be resilient. Significantly, because you are already on AWS Cloud, you would not need any budget approvals for buying more CapEx, for getting internal approvals, and that could have been done much faster. Now, as you migrate your workload from on-premise to AWS Cloud, you actually have some savings. You save about 20 to 30% cost saving. But what these organizations do is basically do instance right sizing. They look at the usage of their servers, and then, for instance, they might move from a 16-core machine to an 8-core machine and still see that there's no impact on the performance. Eventually, they might look at that the server utilization is not very high on the weekends or after office hours, and they can turn it off. That could again give you additional cost savings. Same is the case when you could do on storage optimization, deploying serverless architecture, on even database management. A lot of effort organizations were spending on managing their database, and if you deployed managed services and leverage RDS from AWS, you could significantly save costs. And this could go up to almost 60% in many cases, as what we have seen. Another key lever which is emerging very rapidly is architecture best practices. All of us are aware how applications were developed in the past. These were monolithic applications. They had to be program managed. This was done over months or sometimes even years. Any impact in any part of the code change could impact the entire application. This was the way the past applications were developed. This is completely changed in the cloud native world now. This is a microservices architecture where there are DevOps team and developers can focus on their particular utility and functionality. They can make technology choices without impacting the rest of the code. They can roll out their particular features, and if it does not work, they can roll it back. This makes the organization completely agile and respond to these kind of crises. The third key lever which we have seen is what we was expected, that public sector agencies will take time to adopt artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, but to our surprise, they have been at the forefront of adopting these technologies. They've already deployed chatbots to improve the citizen experience. They've realized that number of queries from citizens are very regular and could be handled by chatbots. They have so much unstructured and structured data, and they've analyzed and they are able to make better decisions and therefore offer consistent business operations. And by saving all of this, they have got their resources who can focus on innovation. The next big lever which organizations have adopted from public sector are from having a higher security posture. So AWS comes with inherent security certifications like SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, ISO 27001, 27017, ISO 27018. So all the deployments which are done on AWS Cloud inherently take advantage of these certifications. For government agencies who want to leverage on a MITI empanelment, AWS is already certified by MITI. At an organization level, the CSO and the head of security would want to set up a master account and would like to have security policies for different teams. So AWS allows to set up a master account and create a landing zone under which sub-accounts can be created and security policies can be pushed and governed. At the same time, government agencies are very particular about data privacy. What AWS Cloud allows you to do is to encrypt your data at rest, encrypt your data in transit, and you can decide whether you want to put the keys with you or put it on cloud. At the same time, you could actually leverage all the other security products and partners you have been trusting for a long period of time, and they can integrate with AWS and they are available on marketplace as well. So the government agencies can take advantage of this. Lastly, the main area where government agencies are focused and organizations who are focused on cloud adoption is on building the entire capacity of their organization. They have created pods, their circle of excellence and center of excellence, focusing on key competencies like DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, security, on procurement, and build the capacity of the organization that they can handle any challenge on. They are not leaving this training to only the technical people, but they are completely transforming their own organization from leadership to the junior most employee. And that's helped all the organizations to completely transform themselves in a very rapid way. So in the nutshell, we are seeing two types of paths and cloud journeys so far. There are organizations who have decided that they would become cloud first, which means that any new projects, any new applications which they have to deploy, they have decided that that will be deployed on cloud first. And so they are able to take advantage of cloud native capabilities of AWS and be agile. But at the same time, there are others, organizations who have decided that they're going to mass migrate and completely migrate their workloads onto AWS cloud. And the latter organizations have taken more advantage because they are able to change, they are able to leverage all the levers of what AWS actually offers in transforming their organization and completely modernize themselves. Today, you're going to hear from some of the experience of users who have actually migrated their complete applications which have been on-premise onto AWS cloud. So with that, I would like to really offer our support and partnership along with our AWS professionals and experts, and along with our premier partners. We look forward to partnering with you in this journey, and I wish you the very best in your cloud journey, and thank you with that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manchanda. That was really insightful to hear what all efforts AWS is doing, as well as the government agencies involved in this COVID-19 situation. I'll request audience to share their questions in the chat box, which is given in the web in this webinar. The questions and answers, what you will be asking, the session will be done at the end of the webinar. So please keep on asking your questions, which will address it to the concerned speaker. So before we proceed further, we have a small quick poll. This will help us to understand your expectations. Kindly share your feedback for the session. The questions are displayed on a screen to share your valuable opinions. Please go ahead. We'll just 30-40 seconds and we'll resume the session again. All the audience, they can submit their feedback here. Just a couple of seconds, we'll move on to the next speaker. Great, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing your feedback. So we have a second speaker lined up for you, Mr. Ravi Shankar. Mr. Shankar is the Chief Technology Officer at the Minfi Technologies. He is a seasoned expert in helping government organizations achieve the next digital transformation through cost optimization, adhering to compliance, and setting up disaster recovery solutions. Mr. Shankar has an extensive experience of over 20 years in the technology space. The stage is yours. Well, the virtual stage is yours, Mr. Ravi Shankar. Over to you.
Thank you, Shashikant, and thank you, Vikram. That was pretty insightful. In fact, you have actually made my life very easy by telling the most of the stuff that you can do on the public cloud. I mean, for the public sector company. So welcome everyone. Welcome this evening. And what I am going to tell you is how Minfi as a MSP. So first, let's understand what Minfi is. So AWS is the cloud service provider, okay, and we are the managed service provider for the cloud. So any and everything that you actually wish to do on the cloud, you can involve us and we can do it for you, right? So generally when the scope of tenders come in or RFPs come in, which needs to be bid on, so MSPs like us bid on behalf of the CSP. Okay, so that's the big role we play, and the big importance for our presence is in terms of solutioning. So typically in an RFP, what you would give is that you need X number of servers with certain core and RAM and operating systems and the disk sizing, and then you come out with some use cases. So we are the guys who actually, along with AWS, obviously they are always there behind us. So we kind of understand that RFP, and we try to do a solutioning and give you a very good cost proposal based on your actual requirement. So as simple, what we do is we help you in the procurement, in cost optimization, and executing a fully compliant cloud digitization plan. So this compliance, as you know, for any enterprise, whether it is a state data center or a government enterprise or a public sector enterprise, compliance is something which is very important. And when I say compliant, it's both cloud compliance or infra compliance or infra security compliance, or to a more finer level when I say it's OS compliance. So we are an MSP that can give you a complete 360-degree solution when it comes to compliance, not only from cloud native perspective, but with multiple OEMs that we work with. Okay, these are the large OEMs that deal in firewalls, that deal in PIM/PAM, that deal in IAM access and controls. Okay, so at multiple layer HIPS solutions, DAMs and DLPs, depending on what kind of compliance you have, we are the one who you can reach out to us and we can do anything for you. So what do we do primarily? As I said, cloud solutioning, very important. Okay, cloud is one place where you do not go. Where you do not go, or try to do an apple-to-apple comparison. So in very simple mantra, if I give you, if today you have a server, which is running, let's say, a 32 core and a 128 GB RAM, you generally do not come and say, okay, this is what I'm paying for a 32 128. What is it that you are going to pay? How much am I going to pay in the cloud? So my first question that will come to you, and you should go back and check, in your infra, if you haven't already done that, this 32 core and 128 machine, what is the actual usage? So most of the cases, you'll find that you're not using more than 20% of 32 core 128 GB, wherein that 20% would have become 50% on some load spike once in a year or once in the last 2-3 years since the day you have provisioned it. Okay, so that is what has actually happened. When we talk of cost solutioning and the second line, which is TCO optimization, okay, we evaluate your actual usage based on your application that you're running, and then give you a plan. Okay, so you will see in the further use cases that we are talking how the infrastructure cost has got reduced. So compliance in legal, as I said, all compliance in legal, and DR solutions. So this is another very important stuff that we offer for many of the government or the public sector enterprises. We will find that you don't have a very reliable disaster DR solution. Of course, you would have set a 2+1 DR. Okay, many of the cases, and I'm generalizing it, I'm not very specific about it, but many of the cases you will find that when you actually need the DR, it was not running. Okay, or it was not in a state of run. So how when you do it in the cloud, the best part of the cloud is, like you say, AWS, Amazon Web Services. Okay, I have these web services of every service that AWS has, which is like 180 or 200 plus services that AWS provides. Okay, I have a web service for every service. So I can write a program using that web service to find out or trigger out any kind of monitoring or any kind of controls on your infrastructure. So custom programming, so that helps me a lot in designing a very cost-effective DR solution. So our magic number is which we try to reach is setting up a DR at 15, maximum 20% of the cost of the infra. So again, this is a generalized statement. It completely depends on how and what your infrastructure is using it. But many of the times, and most of the cases, we are able to achieve this under that numbers that I'm trying to put in. So, it's just because of the cloud, So had it not been a cloud, a normal traditional data center, these numbers could not have been so feasible. Okay, so why Minfi? Again, platform-driven company. So we have a platform called Swayam. Okay, it's called Swayam.cloud. Very soon it's going to get released. We are already using it beta internally. Okay, it's basically a cloud infra management platform for governance and infra discovery and management and maintenance. So and before I tell the second part, I would like to bring attention here. That is AIOps based 24/7 monitoring support. So the first line support, that is where most of the managed service or the support collapses, or the quality of the support can go down if we rely solely on human. That is the first line of support that we have very fast and continuously introducing artificial intelligence to this. So this platform has something like a very simple function. If I say start and stop of an instance. So now if you create a ticket for me saying, hey, please start my instance with the ID this AIOps picks it up, uses the web services of this platform, and it will stop that server. So this guy sitting here literally has no work to do, or even to that takes no time to. I mean, if it was being done manually, this activity would have taken from the response time to execution time about 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Okay, here when I automate it, it happens within 2 minutes. Okay, so that is the kind of services and automation we are doing using artificial intelligence in a big way in our system. Okay, agile deployments. If you are engaged with us, you have a dedicated PMO, for faster deployments and responses. Okay, which is again a very good single point of contact by a trained manager that you're going to get. And delivering cost optimization on a continued basis. So we every month we do a cost optimization study of your infrastructure to understand what to work on. So some technicals, full scale for NSDC. So it's one of the use cases that we have been working on is NSDC, that is a National Skill Development Corporation, which was a complete HANA deployment. Okay, a full stack enterprise grade HANA deployment. Okay, so we came out with a very creative solution to manage their ask for an uptime, uptime and a DR. Okay, so we are managing more than almost 99.99% uptime, and a DR which is, I would say less than again 20% of their HANA infrastructure by utilizing EBS snapshots. Okay. And putting in place some advanced features of AWS like auto recovery of the instance and all. So we can go deeper into if you engage with us for further discussion. I can tell you exactly how these are done. Okay, but these are very strong features of AWS, so hence we are able to provide them. So managed database by utilizing native AWS backend service. So this is a very new service launch for HANA backups. Okay, so we are kind of, the implementation is still on for this. So a native solution provided to you for your HANA backups, for managing HANA backups onto the cloud. Then archival, cost-effective solutions like archival, like AWS Glacier, which costs you as low as $5 a terabyte. Okay, there is another version called Deep Glacier, which would cost you $2 a terabyte. Okay, so so here's what I say when we do solutioning. Generally, when it comes to backups, you would use a disk. Okay, you would try to use a tape. Okay, if to save the cost. But eventually, what we do is do a complete solutioning over your storage, or rather tiering of your storage requirements. And in a long term, if you have a compliance to store for at least 7 years, that is a general compliance in the government. That kind of compliance you have, we try to move everything to the lowest cost storage of Deep Glacier. Okay, so that's the kind of solution we do, so that your cost of ownership is very low. So then comes regarding the compliances. This is another prestigious project that we have won. Okay, and it is the phase 2 of this is something which we won along with an SI partner. Okay, and the entire planning has been done in such a way that the security based compliance which is there, that is absolutely taken care of. So here we have introduced, we have created a host of security layer that includes IPS, IDS, HIPS, PIM, network scanning, VAPT, SAS-DAS, code security. So the good thing is that you never had to go to multiple different service providers for this. Okay, so at Minfi, at one place we can bring it, we can comply to all your security needs, right? So, and if required, we connect with the third party, like for example, VAPT. The VAPT is something, there are other companies, those are experts in that. So we have understanding and SLAs and joint ventures with them, and we bring them onto the table and get the VAPT's kind of stuff done with a guarantee. Okay. So then DR, I already talked a lot about DR. Multiple different RTOs and RPOs that we can look at. It starts from as low. I mean, if you're doing everything on the cloud, we can bring you your RTO, RPO to near live, both RTO and RPO, which is typically we call an HA architecture. Or if you're bringing from on-prem, the RPO I can bring down to near to live. If you're on premise is mostly on an x86 platform, we can bring down your RPO to near to live, and RTO, can be as low as 2 hours, which is a very fair ask, in terms of a distant DR to be set up. Okay, so now one important part of a DR is the automation that we do. So we believe that a DR should work at that time, maybe a 2 year later or 3 years later after it has been set up, in the absence of all those guys who had actually set up the DR. Okay, so if it runs, if people who are not aware of the DR looks into the documents and are able to start it, then it becomes a successful DR. Okay, so, and for that, it's very important that you automate the launch sequences. So we are very good at automating launch sequence. To a very good extent, we'll launch we will do the automation. You press a button and the DR servers will start getting launched. And once it gets launched, you have to do some more sequence, whether automated or semi-automated or manual kind of stuff you have to work on. So we can do that. So this is something which we are doing for the Punjab government, Punjab DGR. Okay, where the entire state data centers DR is being set up on the AWS cloud, and it is work in progress right now as we speak. So here are some of our public sector and the government and public sector customers that we have been engaged with. Okay, which is CRIS and NSDCs and IT Kharagpur, Bihar Board, AP State Government, and less to say about the Department of Information Technology Manipur. One of our, I would rather like to use the word pride possessions. We the first state data center which went to the cloud. Mr. Robert Sharma is here on the call, so he would be taking the next session and telling his experience around it. But this data center, once we got this data center on the cloud, okay, we are proud to say that we have been able to save a lot of public money spent on the infrastructure once this came out. So it's a repository of all data and application websites for the entire government of Manipur. Okay, and basically what we did was there was an effort, combined effort along with the application team of the SDC to consolidate the critical websites, bring them together onto the cloud, and immediate scaling of few applications with no capex. So there are instances when you actually typically during election times and all, when you require a scale up of your application stacks. We using the auto scale features and multiple vertical and horizontal scaling techniques, we were able to manage those in the cloud. Okay, so what are typical business challenges? Okay, they had legacy applications that were running on outdated hardware and wasn't delivering the performance required. There were OPEX. Okay, needed to be the ask was to reduce the OPEX for the government. Okay, government to citizen applications needed more agility on the infra, as traffic is based on will be agile based, like in the sense you never know, traffic sometimes goes up and sometimes goes down, so there was some kind of agility that was required in the infrastructure which was missing. Okay, and this is typically what happens when many of the government portals come down, when all of a sudden there is a scheme that is launched, or some kind of and public operations has been put in place or digitized, and people are invited to use it. Okay, so this is the reason for the agility. Multiple IT vendors, this is I think for everyone this should be one of the most time-taking and frustrating experience, that you're dealing with vendors of various different kinds and trying to understand their psyche and what they're talking. You need to get expertise on what they're talking to understand what they're selling, and so there's a lot of effort that goes into in shortlisting the vendors. There are multiple cycles of RFPs and tenderings and all. So when you get on the cloud, first thing is that you really don't have to again and again get into a tendering process to procure hardware. Okay. Second, if you have a software requirement, and there is an immediate need, you need to like suppose there is a security related OEM software requirement. So instead of going into a longer cycle of tendering and all, what you do is you get into the marketplace of AWS, you immediately subscribe to it and start using it. Then you can get into your regular tender cycle, and maybe for the procurement and all, you can kind of work on it. So this is a huge marketplace of all the known OEMs which are available on the cloud. That is and it's a single click. Like you want to put up a Cisco, click and put up a Cisco firewall. You don't like it the next day, you just unsubscribe and put up a checkpoint there. So it's absolutely up to you as to how you would like to use that. So finally, what we did was we lifted and shifted multiple government workloads, and seamlessly by paying special attention to maximizing uptime. So uptime. I think I'm sure Mr. Sharma would be telling you if he had faced any kind of downtime issues, in the last 1.5 to 2 years that he has been working on that, I think. Okay, and of course, big achievement that we were able to reduce capital and operational cost. That is a very big achievement. Working on it. A lot of services of AWS that were leveraged. Okay, there are more than what could fit in this cube. But all these at some point of time we are using it for different purposes and solving different use cases. So mostly this is something which I've already talked about, the benefits. This on-demand reduce operational cost on legacy applications, the ability to consolidate the different kind of portals, scale up during peak workloads, and scale down when needed. The most important thing, scale it down when it is not needed. Okay. So with this, one of the very strong case studies and very fruitful engagement that we had with we have still with the state government of Manipur. The few awards that we have won, and this is a very partial list. There are 3 times these awards that are sitting on our walls in our office. In the last 3 to 4 years, we have won, which include the awards both from AWS and AWS Asia Pacific and CRN. Okay, so for our efforts in this. These are our very important achievements. It is very difficult to get these badges in AWS. These are called competency badges. Okay, so these are absolutely audited by AWS in terms of our experience, our implementation experience, our understanding, the process that we follow, and then we earn the badges. So each badge, let's say consulting partner of Microsoft workloads or DevOps competency or education or well architected SAP, there are multiple such competencies that we have. Each badge goes to an independent cycle of audit, okay, and of course re-audit. For us to, so it's really important that we maintain the high standards and qualities to retain these badges. So this is AWS's guarantee that we are good at DevOps, we are good at education, we are good at well architected, or public sector partner, one of the very few public sector partners that we have in the country. Okay, so this should give an assurance of our where we are working. So to end with this, I will just tell you what simple some programs that we have. Of course, Shashikant will be telling you more about these programs. Um, First is a well-architected review program. So if you have your cloud infra, which you're already running, any infra on the cloud, and that's a AWS cloud. Okay, so AWS has something called well-architected review as a service. Our professionals, they kind of review your entire infrastructure and tell you what best practices that you need to implement in your infrastructure, and those we have been very successful in bringing down the TCO of various companies down to a cost saving of almost 40%. Okay, their workload timings, like one of a very large what do you call them, newspaper company, who have their portal running on AWS. Okay, we were able to bring down their expense from something like 40K a month to 20K a month. That's almost 50% saving month on month, which was $20,000. Okay, by just working with their application team and understanding and trying to do cost optimization for them. Okay, so similarly for every infrastructure, if you have not gone through the WAR program, I can guarantee you that there will be a lot of cost saving or improvement in your infrastructure security posture or your infrastructure overall upkeep. If when you go to this WAR program. Okay, and so same, it takes about 8 hours to do this review. That's all we require from you, and we have almost done 150 plus optimization we have done globally till now. Okay, so. So we also can conduct dedicated workshop section for the public sector for your company. Okay, and this simply means that we can conduct dedicated training workshops. So one of the biggest reason or the hiccups that I see, when I talk to a lot of CXOs, both in public sector and enterprise, is that they're still not, or CIOs rather, they're still not very sure about how to go into the cloud, how to kind of be sure that what they do in the cloud is as per the best practice. So the first step we do is we start with the training. We train their people, we train their implementers, we also train the finance, very important to train the CFO, to understand that from a fixed bid, how fixed bid is not the best way to optimize your cost. A cloud spend which can be variable actually gives you a more cost advantage, which I'm sure Mr. Sharma should be able to tell you how it has helped him. Okay, so we will do the training for you, and conduct those workshops, conduct those workshops. Okay, so what is it for you? Now there is no cost, no commitment. Okay, for the Knowledge First initiative, we will train you absolutely without any cost implications. It will be a practical knowledge and technical training certification of AWS public cloud fundamentals will be provided. And this is an opportunity that we are providing you for 2 candidates in your department. We will sponsor the AWS Certified Solution Architect exam. I think that's about, if I'm not mistaken, it's about $100 or $120. Shashikant can correct me when he talks. That should be the price. So for 2 of your department candidates, we will sponsor these exams for you. Okay, so who should attend? Yes, an IT teams from central and state government agencies, PSUs, NPOs. Basically anyone who has to want to, who has an interest in understanding the cloud. We have something for everyone. Okay, so basically cloud fundamentals and architecture and deployment. So track 1 is for everyone. Track 2 is more into technicals. Okay, so you can kind of choose who are the guys who can attend track 2, but otherwise doors are open for anyone. Okay, so you can, at the end of this session, Shashikant or Vibhor will tell you, how to apply for this. Okay, so there's a link given that will download some PPT. In that PPT you have a link, something like that, so will be explained about it. Please do apply for it, avail this. Okay, the WAR program and this training program is absolutely meant for you, and it will be very, very helpful and fruitful for you. Okay, so with that I bring an end to this session. So if there is any question, you can type in the chat window, or and we'll take it up later as per the plan. So Vibhor, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ravi. Thank you very much. This was really very insightful. I'm sure our audience will be looking forward to this opportunity, what you have told about. So we are going to show the slide. Instead of this poll, we wanted you to, there is a chat sent to you in your chat box. There is a link. You can click on that link and any public sector organization can register themselves there. It is basically Knowledge First program initiative. It is live right now for the registration. I'll request all the audience to click on the link which is there in their chat box right now, or also they can go to the handouts. There is a small PDF file, the PPT file. You will click on it. There is a link there also mentioned in your handout section in the webinar. Also, the direct link is given to you in the chat. So just fill it up. It will not take more than 30-40 seconds. The link will be anyways available after this session. Around this session, if you submit, there will be a lot of early bird opportunities also we are planning to give. So as Ravi was telling, this is a very good opportunity if you want to have the benefit of learning, getting the certification for your team, getting the confidence of working on the cloud. And also we are having a sponsorship opportunity for the 2 candidates from your department. So it's basically a $100 course which Ravi was talking about. It's a certified AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate course, which will be sponsored completely by Minfi to the selected early bird offers. Please go ahead and register. Well, the link is there. I'm sure before the session ends, many of you will be registering for that. If you have any questions, please do ask to the question panel. We'll come back to you on that. Well, now we are pleased to announce our guest of honor, Mr. G. Robert Sharma, for the webinar. We are very happy to have you, Mr. Robert, here. Mr. Sharma, Robert Sharma is a Joint Director at Department of Information Technology at Government of Manipur. It's an entity under the National E-Governance Plan, which acts as a central repository of all data and applications for the entire Government of Manipur. Mr. Sharma was at helm when DIT Manipur decided to consolidate its critical websites to AWS to provide efficient electronic delivery of G2G, G2C, and G2B services. The move helped the department to immediately scale with no capex requirements, and the project was handled by AWS and Minfi, while Mr. Sharma was helm of the DIT Manipur. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Sharma. Over to you. The presentation, you can do it here. Thank you.
Sasikanth, can you, okay. I hope you can see my screen now. Well, Mr. Sasikanth, can you see the screen?
Yes, yeah, the screen is available, yeah.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much to Minfi and AWS for giving me this opportunity today to speak about how we have, migrated to cloud. And it was indeed a very long and a very tiring journey, and it was a learning journey for all of us. However, at the end of the day, we were so happy and content that we were able to migrate to cloud platform. And today, I would also like to tell that I'm speaking from one of the remotest part of India, the northeast part of India, Manipur. And during this COVID time, we're leveraging technology, and we're able to connect so many of us on this platform together. So this is in fact, a great credit to the technology. Now today, I would not be giving you a very technical session or a very precise session. I will just tell you the journey that we have gone through, how we selected and how we were introduced to cloud platform. Sorry. So when we were in January, back those days when I was given the task of handling the data center back those days, the contract with the existing data center operator was already expiring in 2017 when we were given the task there. And then again, back those days, again, the funding from ministry, it's the Ministry of Information Technology, Government of India, the funding was also stopped because the project has already expired. And we were running at a very high,
Looks like there is some small technical error. We'll just give a couple of seconds. Mr. Sharma will be joining again. Vibhor, meanwhile, we can do. Can you take the presentation and?
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Sharma is online. Yeah.
Give me a minute. I mean, just the light went off. So I was so sorry for this. This light went off, and I was not able to. So back those days when we were just starting, the funding had from the ministry had just expired, and then there was a loss. There was huge liability on the government of Manipur, and the annual average expenditure was around 2.5 crore was the annual average expenditure that we used to incur every year, and many of the equipments had already attained end of life, and license were also getting expired. So we were in a big trouble at that point of time. There was no funding. There was no the DCO operators were also contract with them also was getting expired, and we're in a big trouble. So then one wise man one day came us and told about what is cloud. And so at that point of time, government of Manipur, I mean, as in the government was not aware of, we heard the word cloud, but we were not aware of what is cloud all about and how would it would help us in solving all our problems. So then we started exploring, and we became more confused. There were so many cloud service providers in the market. So many of them were there. They were giving us so many features, so many things were available, and we were more confused. Which was the best, and how should we go about in selecting the cloud platform, the right partner for us? Then DIT thought of then we applied our strategy of referring back to the ministry, and ministry also back those days they also gave us many pages of guidelines and documents, and we were again more confused because there were so many jargons that we were not aware back those days, and we were more confused. But yes, ministry suggested us that we should do a POC with any of the partners. Yes, back those days there were already around 8 to 9 of the service providers who were already empaneled with ministry, and they were already available, and Minfi, as in Amazon, was one of them. And we were told that it is as a trial basis. It is government of Manipur may do a POC with any of this service provider, and then start on a trial basis. And I'm so happy that Amazon India was so extended and agreed to do a POC with us with no charges. And with this, it gave us a confidence that cloud was a ray of light for us, which will help us in coming out from the problem that we were facing with the data center. Yes, this picture talking about cloud, I would like to say that everyone was so happy, and they thought that the whole data center would be transformed to the cloud, and it would push into, and immediately the solution would be out. But yes, it didn't happen that way. It took some time for all of us to migrate, and then so activity was there. But yes, the Minfi team and the Amazon team was so helpful that they help us in migrating to the cloud in time. And then before we totally decide on going to the cloud, we did our own analysis, and we did a small SWOT analysis, and we found out that there was a lot of cost saving for the government of Manipur. As Mr. Ravi and Mr. Bikram had already said earlier in their speech, that there was a lot of cost saving that was there for the government of Manipur. In fact, 89% cost saving was there when with the cloud, when we migrated to the cloud platform. Secondly, there was no dependency on manpower, then bandwidth requirement, then AC, electricity, and any other non-IT equipments. We have no dependency. Everything was taken will be taken care by our managed service provider. No worry on license updation and any other related activities. So this was the strength that we foresee. Then a weakness, yeah, at least as we are not very much aware of the cloud platform, we were very latent still, and I would consider that as our weakness. And then there were many players in the market who were still, were confused whom to be selected. So that I consider as our weakness because it was lacking from us. Threat, yes, as there were many providers, we may end up with some service provider which will not actually serve our purpose, was one of the threats that we used to have. And yes, opportunity. We were the early bird in adopting the cloud, and yes, again, many service providers were there, and when we interact with all of them, we started understanding cloud more, and we were having the opportunity to select the best for us. So we went ahead for a selection process, although we were aware that Government of India Ministry has already empaneled to a very stringent process of selecting and empaneling all of the service provider. We also did our own online open tender process, and 8 agencies, all big firms applied, which were already empaneled with Ministry. We did a QCBS evaluation, and AWS with managed service provider as Amazon, as Minfi came out to be was selected actually. So this is how we did our selection process. Yes, implementation part. Yes, again, I would again say thankful to Minfi and Amazon team. We did a tremendous work in migration in just a 2 month, nearly around 30 websites, and 8 to 9 applications were online. An online dashboard was given to us, and completely the big elephant, I would rather say that SDC was a big elephant for us. It was so difficult for us to maintain, and we were totally able to shut down the SDC and migrate ourselves to cloud with no hassle and no problem to us anymore. So this again, we also got an opportunity to inaugurate our migration process. Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, the Union Minister of IT himself, inaugurated the migration process. We're so lucky that he himself did the migration process, inauguration process for us. And again, this was again a very prestigious moment for us that in his office tweet, it was tweeted about our migration process, and we were so happy, and this was done. So the last part, we also got a winners award in one of the function that was held in Technology Sabha. Award was also given to us, and all the credit goes to the Minfi team and the Amazon team for helping us in coming out from that particular problem that the government of Manipur was facing. And thank you very much. I think with this I come to the end of my presentation. I would also like to give a special thanks to one of my mentor, my friend, Mr. Gren Narola, who is there in this particular he was my friend, and he has also been my mentor from the long time. Thank you, Gren, for being part of this presentation also, and thanks to the whole team. Over to you, Sasikant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharma. Really insightful. Really, we are very happy and glad that you have joined us. Truly, DIT Manipur is one of the most prestigious clients for us. So it really matters that when you take out time and join us for the webinar. Well, that ends our speaker session, but the poll questions are going to come right now on the screen. There is just a couple of questions. It will take hardly 1 minute to answer all of them. I request all the audience to go through the questions, and if they can give their feedback, it will be really very valuable for us to improve our content and overall help us to achieve your expectations. After this poll questions, we'll be having the Q&A session. We have got a couple of questions from our audience, which our speakers will be taking it up. Anything else you want to ask, please go ahead and ask your questions in the question box given in the webinar. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate all of the audiences giving the answers to the quick polls. Many of our audience are asking the link. I'm sure the link has been sent to you on the chat box. The Knowledge First initiative, a lot of people are asking their questions on that. The link is given in the chat box prior to this. We can send it again to you. It will come to your chat box immediately. You'll have to just copy that link and paste it into your browser. It's a small registration form. It will help you to give your feedback. You can also download the handouts from there. There's a small slide will come out, and that slide will have the link. So you can use that also to register for this Knowledge First initiative. In a couple of seconds, we'll just move on to the question and answer session. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving the answers to the poll. I'm sure you would have got the link also for registration. Okay, let's move to the Q&A session. Mr. Ravi Shankar, we have a question for you.
Okay,
They're asking
so
if AWS. Sorry?
good.
Yeah, so one of the gentlemen has asked if AWS is MATI compliant to help them into the migrations and other applications migration.
Yes, absolutely. So AWS is listed under the MITI list of cloud service providers. I think there are 9 of them, and in which AWS is one of the cloud service providers. And hence, we have got selected for, AWS got selected for the Manipur State Data Center also. Okay, so yes, this is there as a listed part.
Great. There is a question about data security and privacy, like what kind of data security measures are there? Can you throw some lights on that also?
Okay, so basically, see, the AWS has something called a shared responsibility model when it comes to data. Okay, wherein the everything related to the platform, the infrastructure as service, compute or storage, database, networking, the regions, AZs, all these are a part of AWS responsibility. And the customer's responsibility, as I'm sure you'll agree to, is your applications, the operating systems. AWS or any of its crawler never ever logs inside your system. So OS and anything on the OS is your responsibility. Okay, so if you're hit by a malware because you have not configured it properly or did not do the hardening, or you did not have an antivirus or HIPS solution, then that is something you need to take care of. But a larger thing like DDoS, is taken care by AWS as a default on the platform. So that's something which is there. So security is always number one. Day one on AWS. It's an amazingly secure platform. Everything is by default secure till you make it insecure by pressing the wrong buttons and opening ports or launching your servers in a DMZ instead of a militarized zone. Okay, and taking such action. So security is paramount. So from the infra perspective, be rest assured, if you have not configured AWS wrong, then it is a very secure platform.
Thank you, Ravi. There's one more question, which is what are the cost benefits? Like if they are having state data centers, they're actually referring to Manipur DIT. So in terms of SDC, if they want to move to the cloud, what are the cost advantages or benefits they want to have a comparison on that? Do we have something to talk about it?
So I think Mr. Sharma actually showed one very relevant slide around this, where he was showing that at a high level, if I say, that they were able to save almost 89% on the cost. Okay, and typically we can tell you how it has happened. The mantra, as I told you in beginning, you generally, if you're creating RFP for 5 years, what you do is you imagine that you may need a certain kind of capacity, and you generally end up over provisioning. Okay, so for the Manipur state, what has happened is that we have provisioned just what they require and little more than that. Okay, so as I told, most of the time you'll find out that your used capacity is not more than 20% of your provision capacity, and there's no one to blame because there is no right science to do it. When it comes to AWS, you add capacity when you need. So that is one of the biggest advantage in the cost saving feature of AWS. Second, if you notice the slide, he mentioned about less investment in infrastructure, AC, maintenance, upkeep, people, you have a very transparent pricing mechanism. Okay, so you don't really have to go forth and keep talking as to just to get a good price. The price on a cloud is globally visible, and it is the same to all. Okay, so that is another way. Your application, the way you solution, let's say your application, for example, just one example, if I give you, putting up a CDN on AWS is as good as just clicking 2 or 3 buttons in sequence, and you have a content delivery network available. So maybe one of your application is taking a lot of load, and you have a lot of servers launched just for your static content, your website, your front end, HTML and CSS, because of the load. So we can move that to CloudFront. So one single layer of CloudFront added can bring down, so this totally depends on the use case. Okay, it can bring down your number of instances that you have spun to, maybe 20% or 10% of what it originally was. Okay, so there are a lot of techniques and tricks, and hence we said that we must kind of discuss sometime and understand how the solutioning can be done. That training will help you a lot. They're primarily to answer these questions.
Thank you, Ravi.
It was for us. It was like paper users also was there. So for us, as Ravi rightly said, we had a huge elephant which was already established in 2017, and we were not able to cut down on the cost of electricity, the manpower, and then the huge server space that we had it. And so it was running for us, and we have to keep paying for all that in order to maintain that. But once we migrate to cloud, all that was cut down, and we were just paying for what we were using it. So that was a huge cost saving for us, and that's how we save our costs. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, Shashi, any other?
Well, there is a question about data localization requirement, or DR as a service, basically. They're asking how data localization requirement is being taken care of DR services and backups, whether they're being maintained or not.
Okay, got it. So see, AWS data center is in. So one of the key asks for the government, as per the compliance, is that your data should not leave the country. Okay, so first thing, the data center of AWS, the region that we call it as. Okay, the region is in Mumbai, so it is obviously well within the boundaries. But in the Mumbai region itself, we have 3 different what we call it as availability zones, which in effect are 3 different and distinct data centers, which are all of them which are a few miles apart. How apart I really don't know, but they're all a few miles apart. They are on a different power line. They are on a different geographical plane, maybe, and also the internet connections that they have. So there are absolutely 3 distinct data centers. So when you are putting up a DR, and when the call is for letting the data be inside the geography of India, we can create a multi-zone DR backup strategy for you. Okay, this is one. Typically, when we put in your applications, like when you say DR, obviously there will be RPOs and RTOs, and you mention 15 minutes, 2 hours, 4 hours, or 15 minutes of RPO and 2 to 4 hours of RPO. If it is in an application, I can create, and this is pretty unique to AWS, I can create a multi-zone, highly available architecture for your web application, which if I just convert it, it could be also means that you have a near to live DR. Okay, but actually it is actually both it's an active setup. Okay, so even if one zone completely goes down, for whatever reason, the other zone will pick up and it will start behaving as a primary zone. Okay, so there are a lot of such features on AWS that we can leverage for setting up your DR requirements. But data is in India, so it doesn't go out. Unless you send it out, it will never go out.
Great. Thank you very much.
On backups also, just let me cover that backups thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so AWS is one of the best place, or let me change the statement. Backup is one of the best and the least risk use case for you to check onto the cloud. If you want to really start some work on the cloud, just take up a backup use case, bring your state drives, try to convert them, all your terabytes of data that you have in a data center, push it to the cloud. Okay, and there are many secure ways, of moving data to the cloud. So please do not worry about data breach. AWS is very, very careful about data and security. So, but all those backups can very happily be moved to the cloud, and you can also start taking a test of the cloud as to how it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Great. Thank you very much, Ravi. Really appreciate. There are a lot of questions out there, but I think most of the answers are given by you. Look, we have already overshot the time, but I really appreciate and thank everyone for being with us. Thank you very much, Ravi. Thank you very much, Robert. Thank you very much, Vikram. I really appreciate all of your time. Looks like we have most of the questions are here. So, Minfi Technologies, AWS, we all really appreciate that you all have taken time to attend this webinar. Thank you for joining us today, and hope we'll see you next time. With this, we are ending the session. Once the session is ended, there will be a small survey questionnaire will be coming to all audience. They can fill it up, and it will help us to get back to them for any other questions or any other queries they have with us. Thank you very much. Take care. If anyone, Robert, you want to have something to say, please go ahead and we'll close the session. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.